Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Today it's about Synplant 2, which just came out yesterday evening. And in my opinion, this is the future of synthesizers. Because we have now this new GenoPatch feature in here, where you can just drop samples into this plugin and it tries to figure out with machine learning how to create a 2 oscillator FM patch from this sample. So let's take here, for instance, write the sample, you drop this in, and then you say, let's create some patches from it. And you can see here, CPU spikes pretty hard, 84%, only in the generation process. Then it drops down, of course, which is nice. So now we generated basically from this one sample, we generated multiple FM patches. Just use this one here. And then we can play it on the keyboard. We can also here correct the tuning. So C is C and D is D. Then we can normalize the volume. We can play around with velocity sensitivity. And we can grow out these branches into, so the sound becomes different. And if you like a sound or some of these branches here, we can just use the seed and plant it in the middle. So Synplant, if you don't know how it works, I mean, this one is around for ages. Synplant 2 with the GenoPatch feature just came out yesterday. So this one is basically just an, it's a really nice sounding 2 FM oscillator synth. We can dive into the DNA here. And under the hood, this is basically just envelopes, 2 oscillators with FM, and filters and effects, right? This is what's going on under the hood. But to create these sounds, you don't need to use here all the usual synthesizer elements. You can also just use this fancy interface here, where you create a random seed in the middle. You just create a new random seed, right? You get a random sound. So all parameters of this FM synth are randomly generated. And then you use this growing interface here to drag some of these branches out. And if you like the sound of one patch or one branch, you can use the seed and blend it back into the middle and go from there. So this is the idea of Synplant, right? To have this kind of growing seed, growing interface to create sounds. But with GenoPatch, we can just use samples, try to recreate a sample with an FM synthesizer, which is really nice. I think no one has ever done this before. I mean, there are some re-synthesizers out there, but they use usually sine partials. So they just take the overtones of a sample and then recreate these overtones with sine partials. But here we have just 2 oscillators, and machine learning algorithm tries to figure out how to turn all these knobs on the synthesizer to recreate the sound with just 2 oscillators, which is really nice. And I really hope we see this in other synthesizers too. So just imagine you have here maybe a polysynth in Bitwig, right? And you want to recreate some kind of sound, and you have the sample, you drag the sample into the polysynth, and then the machine learning algorithm tries to figure out what knobs turn. So polysynth sounds exactly or similar to the sample. Really nice, would be really nice to have this instead of, you know, tweaking synthesizers here for hours just to have a bad representation of the sample in a synthesizer. So machine learning could really help. And in my opinion, this is also the right way of using machine learning, or AI, if you want to call it that way, in music production, right? You just make certain processes more easy, more accessible, and faster. Instead of me sitting in front and tweaking all these knobs for hours, I just drag it in and the machine learning algorithm does it for me. So this is just my take on this. So I think this feature here is probably the most innovative feature in the last maybe 10 or 20 years in synthesizers. I have no idea why no one else did this before. It's just, I wanted this so many years before, and I said, well, it's just machine learning, right? You have an input, you have an output, just test on the output if the input matches the output, and if it not, then just randomize some parameters until it fits the output. And then you can make a nice model that resynthesizes samples into synthesizer sounds. So in my opinion, every synthesizer should have this kind of feature at some point in the future. Okay, so Synplant 2, like I said, is out at the moment. You can download just the trial version. I'm not affiliated with the company, so this is just my personal opinion. I really like this. I want to play around with this here the next days and see how I can implement it in my daily producing process. But I really like the idea behind this. The only downside is it's pretty expensive, I guess, for a synthesizer. It's $150. But the feature is really, it's probably really worth it. So maybe look into this. Link is in the description below. And yeah, maybe let's try out some different samples, I would say. So yeah, you have some piano samples on my hard drive from Science. So just use this here, drag it in, and yeah, just recreate the sound, or try to recreate it. CPU spikes again pretty hard. It takes a while here, but I think it's already sounding nice here. Kind of pretty good. So let's take this. So we can use now velocity here. We can say correct tuning, because whatever, I don't know what kind of tuning the original sample used. So I can correct here the tuning. I can normalize the volume, which is nice. Use a bit of velocity here. And we can use the mod wheel actually to grow these branches to turn it into a different sound while we are playing. Maybe use a super massive here. Bit of reverb. So let's use the mod wheel. It's really nice that you can turn these sounds into some atonal mass here, but we can also bring down the atonality. Release. It's too much reverb. I have to experiment with this a bit more, but it's really nice to play around with this. Also here with the branches to create different versions of the same sound and drift into atonality. I guess there's a lot of, you know, possibility there. I have to give it more time. So let me figure this out. So just a tip from me, just head over to the website of Synplant 2, link is in the description below. Try it out and let me know in the comments what you think about this new feature, GenoPatch. I think it's the future. Thanks for watching, leave a like if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Bye.